You won't believe how deep this case keeps going. Just when everyone thought the Idaho tragedy had been fully dissected, new twists have surfaced. Court hearings, fresh evidence photos, and a controversial new movie that's got everyone talking. This is the latest on the Bryan Kohberger case, and trust me, the updates are as complex as ever. Let's break it all down, piece by piece, and look at what's really going on behind the headlines. Before we dive in, a quick reminder. This report is for informational purposes only. Everything mentioned here comes directly from verified court filings, official sources, and public information. And, as always, respect for all parties involved is essential. This story is about real people, real loss, and a legal process still unfolding. Now, let's begin with the issue that's been setting off waves of debate online: restitution. Recently, defense attorneys for Bryan Kohberger filed a request asking the court to excuse him from paying restitution to the victims' families. Why? Because, according to the defense, those families have already received enough from GoFundMe donations. Yes, you heard that correctly. That's the argument. When that filing became public, the reaction was immediate. People were shocked, confused, even angry. After all, this is the same man serving 4 consecutive life sentences for one of the most devastating crimes in Idaho's history. Yet, his legal team is arguing that since the families received donations, he shouldn't have to pay court-ordered restitution. Here's where it gets complicated and fascinating. During the original sentencing, the court set clear restitution amounts. The Goncalves family was awarded $20,400, and Maddie's mother was set to receive just under $7,000, mainly to cover travel expenses incurred during the court process. These numbers weren't random. They were part of a detailed legal calculation. But in their latest motion, Kohberger's lawyers claim that these costs don't qualify as economic loss because they were already covered by public fundraising efforts. Essentially, the defense says the families have been compensated, so the defendant shouldn't have to pay again. To back that up, they cited 3 separate crowdfunding campaigns, one for both Kaylee and Maddie that raised over $73,000, one for Maddie's mother totaling $48,000, and one for the Goncalves family with over $85,000 in donations. Their argument: if the public helped with those costs, the law doesn't require the defendant to add more. Now here's where the tension deepens. The prosecution fired back saying, hold on, just because someone donated money to help grieving families doesn't erase the defendant's responsibility. And legally, that makes sense. The state argued that restitution is not a donation, it's part of accountability under Idaho law. Even if the families receive donations, the official record still requires repayment for documented losses. In one of the most discussed moments of the hearing, prosecutors pointed out that Kohberger may still receive money while in prison, not from profit-making activities, since that's illegal under Idaho Code 19531, but from outside sources, like family or supporters. In fact, records showed that during his incarceration, his account had received 5-figure deposits from various sources. So, prosecutors asked, why should the restitution be waived if there's potential income? And that's when things got heated. Kohberger's defense countered that those funds came from family members simply trying to communicate with him, not from public interest. They called the state's theory pure speculation, arguing that you can't assume future income just because something happened once. But the prosecutor wasn't convinced. He responded that since Kohberger is still relatively young, there's a chance he could inherit assets someday, or receive money indirectly related to the case. The question became, should the court order restitution now so that if money ever appears later, it goes directly to the victims' families? The judge didn't give an immediate ruling, at least not one that's been made public yet, but the exchange opened a new ethical and legal question. Does a life sentence erase financial accountability, or does it extend beyond the prison walls? That's what everyone's waiting to find out. Now, here's where things take a new turn. Just as this court hearing was making headlines, the Idaho State Police released a massive batch of investigative documents, thousands of pages long, that shed new light on the evidence. Among the most talked about details, photos of the sheath that was left at the crime scene. Yes, the very sheath that linked investigators to Bryan Kohberger's DNA. For the first time, the public could see the actual evidence image, and it's chilling. Investigators had been hoping to find fingerprints on the sheath, But according to the new reports, no identifiable prints were recovered. Instead, the key link came from DNA found on the item. And it doesn't stop there. The files also reveal how extensive the evidence collection was. We're talking about nail clippings, fingerprints, swabs with biological traces, and even trash samples from the Kohberger family home in Pennsylvania. Those trash samples, napkins, flossers, and yes, Q-tips, ultimately provided the DNA match investigators needed. It's unsettling to imagine, but it's the forensic reality that solved the puzzle. What's striking here is how detailed the investigation was. Photos show that even Kohberger's car was completely dismantled for testing. Investigators were clearly looking for any trace, hair, fiber, or biological residue that could link him back to the crime. But while all of this evidence was surfacing, something else began brewing. Something outside the courtroom that's been stirring massive controversy. A Lifetime movie based on the case. That's right, the network known for its ripped-from-the-headlines dramas announced a film centered on the Idaho case and the events surrounding Kohberger. The production was barely underway before it ignited backlash online. Here's what happened. After IMDb published a cast list, several actors posted clips of themselves preparing for their roles, some even appearing to be on set. One actress, cast as victim Kaylee Concalves, uploaded a TikTok showing her getting ready for her first day, using an audio clip of Kim Kardashian saying she loves to do iconic stuff. That video didn't go over well. Viewers called it insensitive, pointing out that Kaylee wasn't a character, she was a real person whose story deserved sensitivity and respect. The clip quickly sparked outrage, especially among the victims' families. Kaylee's sister, Olivia, responded publicly with a video of her own. In calm but cutting words, she said, "My sister isn't a character. You might want to think about the projects you take on, because when you tell someone else's story without care, you risk turning their real pain into someone else's entertainment." Her words hit hard. It wasn't just about one actress. It was about the moral line between storytelling and exploitation. Then came another twist. More behind-the-scenes clips appeared online. Actors dancing, joking around, even posing with what appeared to be fake red stains from the film's production. Those clips vanished soon after, but not before screenshots spread like wildfire. The timing led many to suspect something deeper. Some viewers suggested it might be an intentional PR move by the production team, steering controversy to drive interest in the movie. Think about it. Controversy creates attention, and attention sells. Others argued that it was simply poor judgment by individuals who didn't fully grasp the sensitivity of the story they were portraying. Whether motive was functional or undervalued, the backlash was intense. The Concalves family publicly expressed their frustration, telling news outlets that the idea of dramatizing their daughter's story without consent felt like someone was reaching into our home and taking our lives to put on screen. Their statement wasn't about banning all documentaries. After all, true crime coverage is inevitable. It was about timing and respect. This case is still fresh, still painful, and to see actors posting casual on-set content while families continue to grieve was to many crossing a line. So what does this all mean for the movie? So far, Lifetime hasn't issued a major public response beyond confirming that production is underway. Whether the controversy will delay or reshape the project remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: public opinion is deeply divided. Some believe the film can help raise awareness, while others see it as a step too far, too soon. And that brings us to the bigger picture. This case, from the courtroom battles to the cultural fallout, shows how tragedy, media, and the legal system have become tightly intertwined. Every new update seems to open another ethical question. How do we balance the right to tell a story with the responsibility to honor those it affects? From my own perspective, here's what stands out. The restitution debate isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about justice, symbolic as much as financial. When a defendant argues that families have made enough, it undercuts the emotional reality that no amount of money replaces what was lost. And when entertainment companies race to recreate true events before the dust settles, it raises questions about empathy and storytelling. Still, as uncomfortable as it may be, these moments reveal something powerful about our society, how we process grief, justice, and the search for meaning after unimaginable loss. And maybe that's why people keep watching, keep talking, keep debating. Because deep down, every update, Every document, every courtroom exchange brings a tiny piece of closure, or at least the hope of understanding. So as we wait for the judge's decision on restitution and more developments in the investigation, one thing is for sure. This story isn't over. New evidence keeps surfacing. And as public attention shifts towards dramatizations like the Lifetime movie, the line between justice and storytelling keeps getting thinner. For now, we'll continue to follow this case closely, separating facts from speculation, empathy from exploitation, and making sure that the truth and the people affected remain at the center of it all. Because in the end, it's not about how many headlines this story gets, but how responsibly we tell it.